that better? Yep, I think that should be better. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. I'm back with drawing Henya again. This time around I got a lot done because I went off on my own and recorded my own process. It's not really near completion or anything because there's plenty I still need to draw, but I'm getting closer and that makes me happy. Here we go. I do want to get a number of the details. I'm just like, it is more of like paying attention because like look at how many details there are and look how many I gotta draw. Okay. Okay. Everything working fine here? Yep, there is. Good. So what I'm gonna do is take these buns and give them a little bed hair-ish, like little rough hair. Kind of better correlate to this giant bang in her face. Just do that with these. Okay. Too long of a strand. Let me just take this, bring it down here. Okay. All right. No. The reason why I'm going to this trouble for making all this little extra detail is because, like, her hair tied in the bun looks fine, but the way I'm drawing her hair, it's just like, it looks too much like a ball of, like, rubber bands or, like, a ball of just, like, cloth instead of hair. So I figure actually making it a little shaggy or messy would actually help convey it a little better.
Killer, thriller, killing Mike, quarter pain, sinister, suicidal. See, I sent for simple sensations. Our sights not the same. Spite for the spite, foolish wants and needs. Coolest trying to be free and find shit to y'all. Who is y'all to me? Food I'm trying to eat. Seen they moves from keeping cool to copy, please. Losing not for me. How you get clowned by a rookie? You cower and cowards can't push me. I'm pushing for power and pussy. You pussy and powerless. Bullets done showered and shook and been shocking and spinning. They blood like a tropical typhoon. Dog got a beam when I ride through all. They gon' see me pop and they team. He bomb double beam when the head clean off of you. Quan she all my thought these fiends get y'all crossed out, crossing me. See y'all thoughts cloud Halloween. When I pop out, noggin leaking. No Anki is barrel on the Glock you seen. I'm feeling fair when I rhyme a reason and bang bang. Or they dope can't take any more fade. Taking control, chain straight, but I throw pulling strings on a chainsaw blade. Got you working on that tape. Getting in the way of a three blaze, motherfucker Michael. Hey, you was talking that fight talk. Damn, nigga, you running for your life though. Hit a ring, ring, when the ring, I'm motherfucker Michael. Man, you ain't never on Michael. And I'm about to go psycho. Think you wanna brawl, but the balls I don't like you. Chances, you ain't never fight no. Savages, you won't like those. Put a chainsaw, think a brain dog, motherfucker Michael. Man, the motherfucker Michael. Man, nigga, motherfucker Michael. I'm about to lose my grip. Show you what happens when I pull like this. Dancing with the devil, let me move my hips. You ain't never seen a motherfucker move like this. Tough crowd, when you think I left the room like this. Chain don't see the whole room like that guy talking that pew might get you. Long talk to your pew like make a dog bark for some booze like this. Damn, booze my shit. With the right set and the right hips, you can point. I don't care who I hit. Real ball when they crew like 6 turn 6-6 and a 3-3 and a real ball turn a real light bitch. He real dead, he ain't realize it. Got a real splitter, split your dome. Hell bound, hell to punch a ticket, get you home. Same story, different chrome, different hunters, same story. Done 'em, dogging them long before the chainsaws in them. Used to want bomb bitches, now I'm dropping bomb bitches. Brawlers, bras on my wish list. She might get this. Fuck you mean? Might just call me Phil the way I drill a team. Crimson shaded covers every surface when I get the beam. I don't need a milli, bitch, I'm walking with a different lead. Phone it ain't the only thing you answer when you hear it ring. Feeling ill, you fucking with a G. Now G's are always in the front, so listen, youngin', when you fuck up, that's the guillotine. I don't need the Smith and West to blow you into smithereens. Show a little chest to bet your penance on a killing spree. Walking on a tightrope. Getting in the way of the 3 blades, motherfucker might go psycho. Talking big talk, then you wonder where your life go. Brawling with a killer like me, I don't like your chances. You don't want me, I'm a savage. Messing with a killer like me, I just might go mad. I just might go manic. See me on the scene and your life gon' vanish, little bitch.
Kind of wanted to turn it down so I can kind of hear myself think a little. So, not too long ago, actually last couple of weeks, I've been doing the podcast. Recently, I had said that pretty much it's going to be on break until March, and the reason for that being is simply because kind of to give it a fucking break, because I've been doing it sort of like trying to do it week to week, and it's just like, yeah, I gotta give myself a break on that, on the podcast, so that it's just like I don't get burnt out on that type of shit. Yeah. I'm thinking like maybe every other month I do it. But the point I'm trying to make, right? The point I'm trying to make is that I made a couple of episodes talking about Mihoyo and Hoyoverse games and Punishing Gray Raven, which was, I think, yesterday? I think so. But for a number of those games that I talked about, I hadn't actually played them in recently, so I was mainly just going off of memory. I mean, like, I say recently, but I mean, like, Honkai Impact 3rd. I haven't played that since, like, 2016. And Punishing Gray Raven, I hadn't played that since the Black Rock Shooter collab, which was a few months ago. It's not that long of a time, but it's still a significant amount of time. So after I did those episodes, you know what I did? I said, you know what? I want to go back and play some of these older games, see how they hold up in a lot of ways. And it wasn't just like the games I talked about too. It was other games I like remember from days of old. the days of old, as if it's like a as if the ancient age of 2016 was something in the ancient ruins of Aztec. You know what I mean? But so I just looked into some of these games. One of the games I actually took a look into, which I didn't really talk too much about, was Minimon Masters. If you try looking it up, I guarantee you'll find something called Minion Masters. It's not that. It's not that. It is a gacha game, I think, that is focused on dragons. And it was back in 2016. And it, from what I could tell, back in 2021, it pretty much closed its doors. It was done. So that was a shame. I was like, oh, I kind of wanted to play it because I remember liking that game. So that's a shame that it was, it's a shame that it just kind of got closed. But, yeah, like, live service titles don't, most live service titles that aren't, you know, the big, easy ones, really, easy to, you know, name and everything, really don't last too long. And even then, right, they don't stay in the public eye for all that much time. Whereas, like, for as old as Genshin Impact is, you know, it's still popular, but not a whole lot of people overall are, like, continuously talking about it. Some people are just moving on to other stuff. And I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I go to play Minimon Masters. It's down. So I'm like, fuck. So I look into other games, either games that are just like have sort of either dropped development or dropped updates, or have just been closed down. That's a shame. So I go to check out Honkai Impact 3rd, because I'm thinking, okay, maybe, because I thought maybe I was a little too hard on the game. Maybe because I had said the reason why I bailed was because of the loading times. I thought, you know, maybe, like, it just, in the span of, since 2016 or so, right? Maybe, just maybe, they got their shit together and things are better. Maybe. So I took a look at it. Yeah. It is, the loading times are a lot better. I didn't even remember my old password login or anything, so I created a new account, which I thought, you know, hey, let's check it out after how many years? And look, I tried giving it a shot. I got through the tutorial. I tried giving it a shot, but oh god, did I want to stop playing. It was not fun. It was not fun. Like, visually, had a great start with the cinematic cutscene. I thought that was good. But other than that, I mean, like, it kept, like, it just did not feel and play fun. It didn't really, like, the story just really wasn't all that interesting to me. Really wasn't. I tried giving it a shot, and I just didn't vibe with it. I tried, and yeah, like, and I think a big part of it was the gameplay, like, cause, you know, for a game where the main character like fights hand to hand, but also has like a giant cat paw that she twirls around and everything. I don't know, the combat just felt weightless to me. I tried playing Honkai Impact 3rd, the combat just felt weightless to me. Like I'm swinging around as this main character with this giant cat hand. Like, I should feel some impact. I should feel the genuine impact, hence the name. But I just didn't. It felt like I was swinging around a foam hand. That's what it just felt like. I don't know. But yeah, I tried it, didn't like it, and yeah. And then after that, I was like, alright, let's see some of these other games. Right? Because I already gave Genshin Impact a shot. And yeah, it was like... Actually, I think that's honestly... yeah, you know what? That's actually pretty good. I'm not going to spend all day on this, though. Because it is just one hair bun. But yeah, you know, I spent some time, I like, genuinely, like, looking around for different games, and then I tried out, after a little bit, Punishing Gray Raven. Because I was like, I was talking good about it, but it admittingly had been a little bit since I actually, you know, bothered to really play it. So I was like, okay, so how does it hold up? How does it fare? And you know what I found? Genuinely. I found that even after, what, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years of being live, it was so much fun. I'm not even kidding. It was genuinely so much fun. And that's not simply because I already had an account on there and left, and of course I was getting the welcome back treatment, but the gameplay was so much fun. Like, I don't know whether or not it was because of New Year's, because of its anniversary, or because I was just coming back after X amount of months, or all the above, but the reward system now in the event is so, like, generous. And I know, you know, you hear that in a gacha game, like, oh, what, they gave you, like, what, a free 10 pull or something? No, I'm not even talking about that. You want to know what Punishing Gray Raven is currently doing? They have an event where they have, like, 2 brand new A ranks, which, in terms of gacha, if you play, like, Genshin or Honkai, right? Or Honkai Star Rail, that's essentially what I'm saying is, like, the 2 new 4 stars. All you have to do is literally just play the game. And what I mean by that is, like, I went farming twice. I didn't even, like, play the modes. I just auto-cleared and just spent my stamina. And that was enough to just unlock 2 characters. And the way Punishing Gray Raven's unlocking characters in this game works is that it works on a shard system. It works on a character puzzle system, is essentially what I like to call it. Where you have X amount of currency. In this case, for Punishing Gray Raven, they're character shards. You have X amount of shards, and if you collect, say, 30 of them, you get to unlock that character. Which is, I think, you know, in retrospect, I think genuinely is cool. I think that's fine. And it took me farming like once or twice to unlock both characters, because they gave as a reward 16 shards. Doesn't take a genius to know what 16 plus 16 is. But, and then I just, like, they kept giving me stamina, so I kept spending. I kept spending, like, the stamina, and I kept, like, getting more resources, getting a little more, like, in-game currency, getting, you know, farming, grinding. And by the time, like, today, I had ranked them up several ranks. Like, when I actually build them, they're gonna be so fucking strong. And I'm just looking at that, I'm like, wow. Oh man, and on top of that, right? It's not just that, because I went into, like, their, like, in-game shop, which is, the game has an in-game shop where it's, like, you can exchange certain resources for, like, things like, certain, like, pieces for builds, certain, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like oh, you must pay us actual money for this kind of shop. It's more of a, hey, you've got these resources from these modes. You can exchange them for these resources in these particular shops, kind of thing. It's kind of that thing. And in the shop, when I went into it, they gave me 2 free vouchers. They gave me a free voucher for selecting like a custom home background that they utilized in, or that not they utilized, that they introduced in the past with certain events. So I was getting like a limited time like main menu screen for free, which was cool. But next to that, they also gave me a free voucher for a free like 6-star weapon of any choosing. It's not like, oh well, you get a free 6-star weapon, but only for like certain characters. No, they had every single weapon for every single character in every single class. Like, it was, I could only get one, but at the same time, it's just like, it's a lot better than, rolling for like 6 10 pulls or 8 10 pulls, and then hoping, oh man, I hope it's this one, I'm just looking at that, I'm like, wow. I don't know. And in my eyes, right, because it's done by the same people, it's done by the same company that's doing Wuthering Waves, right? In my eyes, I look at that and I go, I wonder what Wuthering Waves is going to be like when the same amount of time that Punching Gray Raven has been out reaches its point for Wuthering Waves. Like, how many characters are they going to give out for free? How much limited time stuff are they going to let people use? Or not use, use, but also, like, just as a voucher or whatever, Because I feel like, Punching Gray Raven, it kind of feels a little more apparent that Kuro Games doesn't necessarily, like, they don't need to rely specifically on Wuthering Waves, the Punching Gray Raven to, be their cash grab as a gacha. Now, it's come to a point where it's like they also have Wuthering Waves, and that's been doing fantastic. So I feel like they're at a point where it's like, yeah, we can ease up because, hey, we have this other game and we're still making bank off of it. And yeah, I know it doesn't necessarily contribute to monthly sales and everything in certain games. I get it, but it does feel like, above all else, it's just like if anything, it kind of feels like the game has, more or less run its course in a lot of ways. Like, I looked and it came out back in 2020. So the game has had definitely a lot of attention. The game has had a number of events, and it's been going on for quite a bit of time. So now I kind of feel like they're in a stage where the game can genuinely, like, it doesn't need to, in my eyes, it doesn't need to stick with FOMO, which, I don't think I mentioned this, it was the failure of missing out. They don't have to necessarily stick to that much, and they're bringing back, like, certain, like, reruns of, like, costumes and allowing certain characters to be available. Hell, they were already kind of top of the game with the whole FOMO situation very early on, because the game lets you pick A rank units. Hell, even when they rerun certain S rank units, right? They have like 3 units that already went through, and they go, all right, we're gonna let people roll on that. But yeah. I don't know. I genuinely like, and here's the thing too about, like, Punching Gray Raven, and I'll even say, like, Wuthering Waves, both Punching Gray Raven and Wuthering Waves. Here's the thing about it. Above all else, like, I look at both these games, and the one thing, genuinely, the one thing that I don't care for are the people who talk nothing about the meta, about what is the now, what is the best course of action regarding, like, what you roll for and everything. Because you will see that constantly in the gacha community. You will see people go, oh man, you don't have this character, you don't have this weapon, you need this character to beat these modes. And in some cases, because, you know, games are susceptible to power creep, also that looks really nice, I have to edit the hair buns to actually make them, like, get rid of the lines. But if you don't have these characters, if you don't have these weapons and whatnot, right, you can't beat this mode, so on and so forth. And in some cases, I do think that they're right, because, you know, gacha games are not immune to power creep. It happens, genuinely. And it's just like, in some cases, you know, games will go out of their way to, you know, introduce power creep so that, you know, they give you a reason so that you can actually, like, buy them. You can actually roll on them. Because if, you know, if the character more or less, if there's no real point in getting the character outside of good looks, not a whole lot of people, above all else, are really gonna want them. So they go, all right, well, let's make this character, like, give them a reason, and let's make these new modes and whatnot that are specifically for this character. There are plenty of gacha games that can do that. Plenty that probably even I don't know of that actually do that. I'll go on and say that. But I hear all this, right? And I just think, I don't give a fuck, especially when it comes to punching Grey Raven and Wuthering Waves. I don't give a fuck. Like, I got, like, recently, Wuthering Waves, I got, like, one of the recent 5 stars. I got, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but it's the girl with the suitcase and the Pokemon. Like, the girl that, like, that girl. People have been putting her down because, oh man, like, she's not great. I mean, unless you have these character, you're kind of fucked. It's like, it's not really something that you should strive for and everything. Like, I mean, have you seen her stats? I mean, her attacks get weaker and all that. I hear that, I'm just like, just shut the fuck up. I just listen to all this and I'm like, shut the fuck up, alright? Like, you're playing as a girl who throws around a suitcase, and one of her special abilities is making a tornado, flying up in the air, and then body slamming with the actual suitcase, and doing a bunch of damage to enemies. And it's just like, I don't care if it makes, like, you know, certain units, I don't care if her moveset makes units and whatnot, or her slightly weaker. This shit is fun. This shit is genuinely fun to play. Sometimes I think that just, you know, escapes the mind of certain people who are, like, chronically online with these games. You know? It feels like so many of them just, like, are looking for what is the new hotness and everything. And they just don't, well, for lack of a better term, they just don't take the time to stop and smell the roses. They don't take the time to go, all right, is this fun, regardless of what other people say. And you know, playing Punching Grey Raven, like, even some of the older units, like even the tutorial units, still, I think are genuinely fun to play. I think genuinely, like, they're so enjoyable in a lot of ways. In the same way with Wuthering Waves, I will play, like, certain characters that people will go like, oh man, that person is shit. Like, you're playing this 5-star from this, you're playing this, like, 5-star character from this long ago, man. Like, dude, they're so fucking trash. Like, you'd be better off with these characters. You're better off playing these characters. Just like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Like, this character summons a clone of themselves, and they fight. You know, it's just like, this character can actually, like, summon a dragon and, like, use it as, like, armor or whatever. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, these characters are fun as hell to play as. And it's not just, you know, like, because, you know, like, cool animations and everything can only get you so far, too. Because at some point you also have to deal with, again, power creep, which I don't think, you know, games like Punching Grey Raven or Wuthering Waves, I'm not going to say that they don't have power creep, because I do think that they do. I 100% do. However, I think there is a difference between games that have power creep and games that have power creep, but keep it in mind, essentially. What I'm trying to say is, like, the whole point of a game is to have fun, not always go for the meta. Exactly. But, for example, right? Punching Gray Raven and Wuthering Waves. A lot of people have said, specifically for Wuthering Waves, right? That game has no power creep. And people are bitching about this game. Like, man, it's no wonder. Man, it's no wonder. Like, you prefer this game over that game. But I mean, Wuthering Waves has no power creep. It's like, no, Wuthering Waves absolutely does have power creep. But they don't just like sit back and go, yeah, well, we can't really do shit. We dug ourselves in a hole. We can't get ourselves out. And it's just like, really? You couldn't do something about that? Wuthering Waves took a lot of notes from Punching Gray Raven regarding its start and everything. Because Punching Gray Raven, you know what Punching Gray Raven does to circumvent power creep? They have bench pressing modes, but they don't just have bench pressing modes. And to those that don't necessarily know what that means, it essentially is kind of like, for lack of a better term, bench pressing modes, what I like to call stress test modes. They're modes that go, okay, so you think your account is hot shit? All right. We'll put you into these different modes with these different, like, bosses and everything. They're going to be mad hard, and you have to be able to do your best. Good luck. They do that, which is already a good sign. But what Punching Gray Raven has decided to do is we're not just gonna add in modes where like the difficulty is incredibly hard or anything. We're also gonna add in a counter system. And no, I don't necessarily mean parry. I'm talking about attempt counter, where you can play as these characters, you can play as, these characters, you can play against these bosses and everything. Sure. But you only get a limited amount of time to play as those characters in those modes. You do. And so what that does essentially is that adds a new challenge essentially for the player and gives you a sign that, yeah, you should have more characters built, and if you don't have them built, well, come back when you have them built. Because I think I was playing a little more, but Punching Gray Raven, its normal mode is, I believe, Phantom Pain Cage. I don't know the name either, but the point is, this is like they put you up against like bosses that you can play in the story mode or whatever, right? And then they go out of their way to like make them like they have like 5 or 7 levels of stages, and each stage the difficulty gets harder and harder and harder, to the point where the top difficulty in that mode, you are having to deal with them, but you're constantly losing health. Like it's a constant damage over time debuff, which adds even more. You're dealing with enemies that can hit like a fucking Brinks truck, but at the same time, you're also losing health continuously non-stop, regardless of if they hit you or not. And so they add those modes and everything, and you only get about like particularly like 5 chances with 3 characters. And no matter what, at the end of by the time you're like done with those attempts, it doesn't like you can't use those characters until the week is up. That's how it works. You can't use those characters whatsoever until the week is up. So that instinctively makes you go, okay, so I have to be able to choose my characters wisely in a lot of ways. Or at the very least, like, I have to build more than just a team of 3 or a team of 6. I have 2 teams of 3, I mean. I have to do more than that. Yeah. And even then, right? Even then, I have a number of characters that are more or less maxed out, or at the very least close to getting maxed out at this point. And after playing through them, it's just like the amount of time and effort that's put into like the difficulty is just, it's like it still surprises me. Like hell, I got finished with like Phantom Pain Cage. I reached like the because they track your like, the way they do it is every time you beat a boss or whatever, they track your score. And if your score reaches a particular amount, you think, oh man, I reached like the max amount that I needed for beating this. What do I get? Congratulations. You get a new mode out of Phantom Pain Cage, which is significantly harder. Because the game catches on at that point where it's like, yeah, you've actually been building your characters, you've been improving. Now you have to actually get good again. Now you gotta start building characters that are, like, take a lot more resources and a lot more time. And it's not just that, too, because technically speaking, they do have, like, a PvP mode. In a technical sense. It's essentially like, you stress test your account. They have this mode called Warzone. All that does is, you stress test your account next to other people who do the same thing. And you can beat the mode, but it's essentially like the ranked mode, where you have to put your account against other people who also spend their time and energy into it. And maybe sometimes, yeah, you get, like, first place or whatever, right? So sometimes you nail it. But other times, it's just like you meet people who are on this shit, who have spent so much, like, time, energy, and even money into, like, getting all these different characters. Not just getting all these different characters, building them, too. And it makes you realize, holy shit, there is, like, so much work I have to do. And the whole thing is, like, the mode also punishes you if you don't get into a particular placement with other people, right? If you don't get, like, into the top 5s or whatever, or the top 3s, you don't get promoted, and you don't get up in terms of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Up in terms of the ranking. So, by that time, you know, if you up the ranking, the difficulty gets harder and the enemies get a lot more tougher. But if you don't pass it, right? Two things can happen. One, you end up in a place where it's like, yeah, you're not, like, you're not gonna get downgraded or anything. You're just gonna stay where you are until you can actually manage to get promoted. But if, you know, your score is way too low, yeah, you're getting demoted. Yeah. And the scores pretty much, like, they start off pretty simple because they go off of like certain levels, and if you can beat enemies of certain levels, right, and everything, if you're incredibly strong for certain levels in the game goes, okay, we're gonna upgrade you and we're gonna put you against stronger enemies. See how you do against that with other people. In my eyes, I kind of feel like that has really helped this game prevent from going straight on into, like, dealing with power creep and then just absolutely, like, saying, well, we give up. In my eyes, at least. And then again, it's just like, when you really consider how much effort is being put into, like, not just the characters, like, just, like, all these different builds and whatnot, specifically. All these different weapons. It's impressive. Like, because, you know, in some games, right, some games, you know, depending on, like, the budget or the, you know, the system or the platform, right, some games will just have, like, they'll have cool animations for characters, but that's kind of it. Or, they don't really have cool animations for characters, but oh my god, they do so much damage, so on and so forth. Punch Guru Raven has a slew of animations, even for characters that are, like, specifically one character. And they fucking nail it. Like, alright, for example, one of the poster characters in Punishing Grey Raven is Lucia. And there's a version of her, which is just basically Virgil from Devil May Cry, called Crimson Abyss. And Crimson Abyss, for a while, was the peak of the game's, like, this is the game's best unit. And that is, you know, you could say that has ultimately been walked back, I guess. You could say that has been walked back, but how do I say this? Because the game ultimately tries to circumvent for power creep, right? And because that, essentially, like, with a lot of the modes, what they do is they they don't really make the modes specific for certain characters. Not really, unless you're like playing like a trial mode for certain characters. The modes are just like, here's a bunch of characters, deal with them. Maybe sometimes the modes will have, I don't know how much time went into making those animations, but yeah, even for lower ranking characters, those animations are still, yeah, absolutely. And the fact that, so I used to do this when I was playing Genshin Impact. I used to defend this game by going, well, they can't get a new like combat system because if you have one character with a new weapon or whatever, right, then you have to compensate and make like just that particular weapon for specifically that character, and people are just gonna want to just go for like, if people are just gonna be like, oh yeah, if you don't have this character with this particular weapon, you're kind of fucked. That's what I thought. And then when I played Punishing Glory Raven, I realized that it is honestly is not really like it honestly doesn't come off as much of a problem. Yes, there are plenty of characters that use the same weapon, right? But there are also plenty of characters that use their own individual weapons. Like, for example, right, Lucia, right? Yeah, she uses a sword, which is no different than a number of other characters, including, like, Lucia Lotus, which is the tutorial character, right? And the thing about that is, like, they added in a new version of her called Lucia Crimson Weave. This is basically, like, you can look this up. She's basically the Nero of Punishing Glory Raven. And that's not a complaint or anything. She's sick as hell. I love her. I love her design and everything. But they added in a new weapon for her. Like, for her specifically, like, as far as I can tell, she's like the only character that has that weapon. And yet, it works because of how they utilize it. See, they don't just come out with a, like, oh man, we have this new character, let's just give him a new 6-star weapon. No. They have a lower ranked 5-star weapon that you can get in like a 10 pull specifically for that character. And that to me is insane, is that they take into account that, yeah, people are probably not going to be getting that, you know, that 6-star weapon. They're probably only just going to be getting a 5-star weapon. So, and on top of that, like with the characters, the weapon banner is selectable. So if you wanted a specific weapon, like a 5-star weapon, right? Or like a specific 6-star weapon, essentially. They'll give you, in a temple, they'll most likely give you a weapon that is of the same class, the same type, but just a 5-star. So that, you know, yeah, you can still buff up your character, you can still, like, you can still buff up your character, you can still have them wielding a strong weapon, yes. But they aren't, but it's just like, at the same time, it's just like, it very much addresses, like, yeah, you don't have, like, the means to get the 6-star, right? The 6-star weapon? That's no worries. We'll give you this one. It isn't as good as a 6-star weapon, but it gets the fucking job done. If Lucia is the Nero of Punch Guru, does that mean she's also just dead weight? It's funny because Lucia actually is pretty much insert blank character here of Devil May Cry. Lucia Crimson Abyss is the Virgil. Crimson Weave's the Nero. Plume above everything else, I kind of want to say, is the Dante. And by all accounts, I'm talking specifically about the gameplay here, not the personality. But yeah, like, this game with it, like, Punch and Grow Raven, with its characters, with its weapons, and just all this, especially currently right now, it's just been so good. Like, again, I can't stress this. I got 2 free A-ranked characters by just playing the game, by just farming twice. And they gave me the shards just for that character. I thought I was going to be here all day having to roll for like 2 10 pulls in the hopes of getting that. But no, the game just like, gave me them off the bat. I was just like, oh, wow. Now I just gotta build them. And, like, because of how much I had been farming and everything, and just because of how much stamina I've been using, the game has just not stopped giving me, like, shards of those characters, so I've just been buffing them more and more. It's in a similar vein. It's kind of like what they did with the dorm system. Now, it shouldn't really surprise anybody. Yeah, Punch Girl Raven has a dorm system, which is not uncommon in a lot of gacha games. What they've done is essentially, like, you run some routine tasks or whatever, and you collect, like, dorm resources. You can trade the dorm resources now for character shards of 2 particular characters, 2 particular 6-star characters, 2 particular S ranks. You can just do that, and I didn't know that. Mainly because it's new. It wasn't in the game initially, and they added it. Now, I don't think it's gonna change. I'd be interested to see, like, the characters change, but it's just mainly right now it is Elisa Echo, I think is her name, and then Isla Brilliance. They're 2 6-star characters, but they're two, and you know, they're cool. I've been using them quite a bit. One of them, like, paints on the ground and everything, and the other has this JoJo stand, so it's cool. I think that's... yeah. The buns look good. Okay. Oh, yeah. But yeah, it was just like, it's just interesting that the game has been out since 2020, and I continuously come back to Punishing Gray Raven, and on top of that, oh my god, it's just like, I just find myself enjoying it more and more. Like, the fact that, you know, I have all these different characters from years of playing the game, and that I will still continuously use them, and that the game has not really power crept. It hasn't really felt like the game has power crept me. Like, it's so amazing. And it's like, I'm real glad that Wuthering Waves is actually, like, taking pages from their own game. Like I said with the whole bench press mode with, like, Phantom Pain Cage, where it's like, you can play this, but certain characters only get certain attempts. They do that in Wuthering Waves 2 with its own bench pressing mode. You get to play with this particular team, and you get to go through this particular mode. And by the time you're done with it, you need to have another team built. And I look at that, and I'm like, man, well, now I gotta start putting resources into building all these different characters. That might seem like a complaint, but no, I like it, because it means that it kind of, in a lot of ways, like, respects my time and respects, like, you know, my energy. As opposed to where Honkai Star Rail is currently. Because Honkai Star Rail currently is got a power creep problem, and they don't seem to be solving it. Like, I tried playing through with just the characters I have, like in modes like Memory of Chaos and Pure Fiction, which are also other bench pressing modes. But the game makes me feel like I need the new characters in order to be able to complete this. Because I've been trying to build different characters, I've been trying to play this smarter and everything, and just nothing, like, I'm inching closer and closer to victory, but nothing seems to be working. That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know necessarily if Honkai Star Rail is gonna fix its system of, like, power creep and everything. I seriously doubt it. But, you know, it would be nice if they did actually fix it. But I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I genuinely, like, I feel probably the safer bet in a lot of ways is probably just sticking to what Kuro Games puts out instead of going back to, like, Hoyoverse games. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I still like playing Honkai Star Rail. I still like playing Zenless Zone Zero, yeah. But it feels more like, it just gives me the vibe where it's just like, I would probably be better off not playing these games as much or anything, as opposed to what Kuro Games is putting out. And I know some people are gonna say, "Oh man, you're just trying to get in their good graces so that they'll sponsor you." And have you played Punishing Grey Raven? Have you played Wuthering Waves? The games are honestly fantastic, and I would love to be sponsored to talk about them. Not even talk about them, sponsored to play them. I want to get my money up. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's interesting, just like seeing how far some games have come and how, for better or worse, and, Sponsorship cash is no joke at what they offer. Also, I've also heard that, you know, despite some people actually going out of their way to criticize their games and everything, they still are fine with it. Hell, they're also, and this is a big plus, they're fine with you playing other games. Which I think is a major plus in my book. Because, oh boy, Hoyoverse contracts. Anybody know the whole story of the Hoyoverse contracts? Oh boy, let me tell you about the story of the Hoyoverse contracts. So, as it has been reportedly going, if you want to, say, get sponsored to play Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, right? You can do that. You can do that. On the trade-off that those are the only games you play. That's it. You don't play anything else. You don't play... You don't even play games that aren't in direct competition, right? You can only play Hoyoverse games. That's essentially what a big part of the contract is. Even if you were to go like, oh man, I love this game, but I'm also going to go over to this game and spend some time with it, they will just basically shadow kick you from stuff that, you know, is kind of necessary for a lot of people who want to be sponsored and everything. Like, oh, I don't know, Discord privileges. But yeah, it's... It's just... I look at a lot of, what like, Hoyoverse has done, and it's just like, it makes me incredibly hesitant in a lot of ways on, like, the idea of just, like, constantly playing their games, or even, like, sometimes streaming them. Like, yeah, I made, like, a Zenless Zone Zero first time playing stream, sure, but it's just, like, I don't really feel comfortable with, like, streaming, some of these games and whatnot. Just because of just, like, I don't really like Hoyoverse as a company. As a company. I think sometimes, the actual teams behind certain games can actually be pretty good. At least in terms of the public eye. But, again, it's still, like, it's still a multi-billion-dollar Chinese company. Always acting like Big Brother is both hilarious and terrifying. Yeah. 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 But, you know, again, like, I know there is most likely, like... Because here's the thing, too. I don't really have much of a problem with, like, the actual dev teams themselves on the games much. Because here's the thing, right? if you're a developer for Genshin Impact, if you're a developer for Honkai Star Rail, if you're a developer for Zenless Zone Zero, or any other game that the company comes out with, you're probably like if you, I'm not talking about like the head developers or anything. I'm talking necessarily about like just like, you know, the code monkeys and whatnot that are working their 9 to 5 and everything for the game. You're probably limited in what you can do and say regarding, like, you know, for the game and everything. So I don't blame you. But yeah, as a fucking Fortune 500 company, right? Oh boy, yeah, the blame all falls on you. Like, I don't blame like the people who are just working their job and getting their pay and everything. You know, hey, like 100%, you're doing your job, get your money up, right? Get your paycheck. But regarding like regarding the fucking like my problem is not with those people. My problem is with the CEOs. It's always with the CEOs. I don't want to say Luigi had a point, but I shouldn't say that. But yeah, also fuck CEOs. Fuck CEOs. I had a conversation the other day with someone I know about the whole thing around just capitalism in general, and I forget what video I said this in, but it was very much a case of like, fuck, what was the video? I don't know, but I was going off about how essentially oh right, it was Project Mugen, aka Ananta. I was talking about how for more or less like, because somebody was bringing up, I remember this, somebody was bringing up like, oh, you know, I just kind of want these games to not be like, you know, I hope they don't have like characters that are just for gooners and everything. Essentially, they don't want the usual crowd of content creators and whatnot who have made like a pretty big like living for themselves off of that kind of like content and everything. They didn't want that, and I was just like, look, a company is just gonna make money however it sees fit, and if there are people that by all accounts are paying money for them to have like attractive characters and everything, they're not really gonna stop. So I'm not really worried too much about that. Like, if you're really worried about that, then don't spend money on these games. Don't play them. That's as simple as that. Like, because the worst thing a game can have, especially a live service game, is no attention. It's no money coming in. Or lest we forget about games like, oh, I don't know, Concord. Oh, that game was fucking dead. That game was fucking dead. And it was obvious. Oh my god. It was so fucking obvious. But yeah, it's just like if you don't want this game to be like, you know, success, thrive or anything, or if you don't like the game or where it's going, like, genuinely, just stop playing it. Don't play it. Go do something else. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I want to make that clear. There's nothing wrong with just not wanting to play something and go do something else. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. All right? But yeah, okay, so my point was like, I made this whole thing, right? I was making this whole point and I shared it with a friend of mine, and they were like, wow, sounds like you're a little defeatist. Here, let me bring up the fucking chat, because I want you guys to hear sort of what I was having to deal with, because it just gave me a fucking migraine. I'm not gonna say who. And it's not like a special content creator or anything. It is just like somebody I know. And it gave me a head scratcher of a fucking... Oh my god. Okay, where is it? Here it is. Okay. So, I'm gonna pull up and I'm also gonna draw. Yeah. What the fuck is... I'm sorry, hang on. My headphones are acting up. Now that's better. Anyway. So, I show the message and I say, essentially, like, you can't really expect to be mad about a system that actually banks on people with money to pour so much money into these games and in time making the reason they're free to play. So why so many gacha games are free to play to begin with, is that they choose a select group of individuals, right, who've got plenty of money to spare, who've got plenty of resources to spare, who've got a big following, and they rely on them, and then those people like put so much money into the game that, oh man, the game's free to play. Wow, that sounds generous. Reality, it's not. That's essentially how these games work. And the person in question that I had to talk with, again, it's just like, again, to reiterate, this is very much talking about how, like, this person in particular didn't want the certain content creators who were just like gooners or degenerates, right, to really get into this game and everything. They wanted to stay away from that. And I knew more or less what they were talking about, but I was also like, if look, a bag is a bag, right? Look, people can criticize the practice all they want, but companies like this wouldn't continue to do it if they still, like, if they didn't keep working. That's just the truth. And the person in question responded, it's just like, it's a symptom of the late stage capitalism, and I'm gonna have to agree with this one. Getting the bag with no accountability or standards is just promoting the corruption even more. It's apathetic. And I mean, I agree, but at the same time, it's just like, really, it's just at the end of the day, it just feels like, when it comes to the whole thing on apathy, right, it is less a matter of like, oh man, if this is a problem, I guess I'm just gonna have to give up because there's no way it can be fixed and anything, and more along the lines of, like, it is a problem that has been brought up multiple times, and multiple times over, like, not really a whole lot of people have actually done anything about it. Not really. It is very much a case of, like, yeah, you can say there's a problem, right? You can say that, for example, right, you could say, for example, like, insert blank here has a lot of predatory practices, like EA and Ubisoft, but it wouldn't work. They wouldn't still be, like, more or less still able to make games if people didn't pay for them. Like, Rockstar Games, for instance, has a lot of predatory practices with Grand Theft Auto 5, but that game still sold like fucking bank, you know? And then there's also, like, infamously the NBA games and whatnot, like 2K, that have a lot of predatory practices, but get away with whoever they want. Yeah, so literally I just, like, say, the only way these games are going to change their practices is if the audience stop playing the games and putting money into it. That's not going to happen because generally, most people who see these games and want to continue playing it, microtransactions be damned, they're still going to play it. And they went off about this whole tangent about how it's, like, indirectly, it's my fault that people like me don't actually advocate for change much more, and that and as they essentially correlated the microtransactions of video games that are entirely and utterly voluntary to play to what happened with the healthcare CEO, and how they're on the same wavelength, and that, you know, more people need to take action like that. And it's just like, that's not where I agree. 100%. That's where I put my foot down. I'm just like, no, I don't agree on that. You're comparing the fucking what happened to the healthcare CEO to what happened to the what is happening with like the video game industry. Genuinely, at the end of it, I say it sounds like your problem is not the industries themselves, it's capitalism and the businesses that are operating off of a three-point plan. Make money, grow, and look good. And that is fine. You're allowed to voice your problems and voice your opinions. However, you put what happened to the insurance CEO in the conversation alongside what the video game industry's practices around microtransactions are doing and so on. And genuinely, I do know it's a problem. Everybody who has played video games for a long time knows it's a problem. Nobody is saying it isn't. But my focus, above all else, was trying to call out and criticize the problems for the sake of wanting to see it be less predatory and actually see it change for the better. And, you know, in some cases, that has happened, because some games have genuinely gone out of their way to, like, avoid microtransactions, avoid this DLC, and so on and so forth. They've gone out of their way to do that, and I'm glad to see that. But the problem I have with them is, like, the stance they had is just overgeneralizing the capitalism issue into saying, well, it doesn't matter where you lie, right? You're all a part of the problem. And the problem I have with that is that the mindset ignores that nuance of the lines between the sand. Because here's the difference between, big surprise, here's the difference between what happened to the healthcare CEO and what's happening with the microtransactions of AAA games, right? You don't need to buy the newest AAA game. You don't. You don't need to buy the newest game. You don't need to buy the newest expansion. You don't need to buy the newest, like, live service title, so on and so forth. You don't. You do not need it. You do not need to play a game that makes anime girls and whatnot attractive and everything. You don't need to. You don't. But you do what you do need? You need to take care of yourself. You need to have health insurance. You need to have, like, you need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to be able to take care of your family, so on and so forth. You need stuff like that. And essentially, what they were trying to correlate with the whole thing with healthcare CEOs and everything, and the whole thing with the AAA game industry, right, is that they were trying to write off what was a luxury as a necessity. Meanwhile, with the healthcare thing, it was a necessity that was being treated like a luxury. That's the biggest difference. And that's where I was just like, I couldn't agree with them on this. This is where I was just like, yeah, that's you're absolutely wrong on this. I don't agree. I don't think you're in the right. I think you're absolutely in the wrong. Again, I won't name them because I'm not that kind of an asshole, you know? But that is a person, they know who the fuck they are, and it's just like, yeah, like, that's a genuine problem. Sure, if you want to talk about how, you know, things in the gaming industry are kind of fucked, sure, go ahead. But if you're gonna write off what has happened with the if you're gonna write off what has happened with healthcare and everything as, like, if you're gonna, fuck, I can't think today. But if you're gonna write off what happened to the CEOs as the same level as AAA games, right? That's where I'm like, no, it's not. I don't agree. I think you're in the wrong, and I think that's incredibly, like, dangerous to think about. But yeah, anyway, I haven't been drawing. I need to draw. Okay, so we are missing the little bows on her. Let's just go here. Right here. But it's always fun to get sidetracked and distracted. Yeah, but I also have ADHD. Okay. Okay. I mean, this one is a simple one. Here, I got a better idea, because I think I'm... Yeah, here we go. Okay. Okay. There we go. Merge these together. Yeah, there is. Okay. And then we make a duplicate of that. Hmm. Bring it up here. I'm thinking. Transform it again. And I think perspective probably would. Something like that. I'm gonna have to redraw it. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Get rid of it. You know what? That'll work. Okay. Oh, that's right, that's right. Anything like in particular I need to readjust with these? There's a little bit. Right here. I think that's fine. Anything over here? Oh, yeah, I think that is fine. All right, I can merge them together. Double checking. So it's here, right? Yep. All right. So just. Oh wait, wrong one. Oh right, did I? No, I didn't. There we go. That should be better. Hmm. Okay. Bring it back up. There we go. It looks so much better, doesn't it? You can actually see the bows now. I suppose I could draw these little, like, I think they're, I don't know. I suppose draw these little things at the bottom of the bells right now. But I think I want to save that as, like, one of the last things I do for the line art. I'm getting really close, though. Okay. So... there we go. It was a little iffy, doesn't it? Alright. a little better. Ah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I was wrong because I thought these were like gold lines going down, but that actually could work. Now I'm looking closer at the dress. It's more inward, so let me see here. Nope. Yeah. Then, let's see here. Probably be better to go like parallel, wouldn't it? So let me see here. Just flip it around. Okay. Save. Something like that. Yeah. That might be a little better, I think. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. Let's see here. One of the sense where I'm like, I really wish I had a character sheet. I think more or less, a lot of the details are on there. I can add some lines here or there, but I think a lot of the details are on there. Okay. Well, now I'm looking at this line a little more. I'm like, does that seem right? Like this angle, I think it doesn't look right. Okay, let me see what I can do about it. Doesn't really actually add much, does it? I think that gets to look across the picture a little better. I see. Get this up. It's a little better. Here, let me see. Maybe we can make it a little tilted. Okay. Yeah, there we go. It looks a little better now. I like it. Use the liquefy tool to push it a little further. Actually was a little better. I like that. Yeah. And I guess we could push this out a little more. That, honestly, that looks a little better. I like that. Ah, fucking... Hang on. Headphones were acting up again. Alright. Is it just like a... I'm going to assume it's so low detail, but I'm going to assume the detail here is exactly the detail here. I'm just going to assume that. So going by that logic, right? I think relatively that should be a simple... Something like... Something like that. Come on. Come on. All right. That's a little better. Do this line a little more. There we go. Okay. I'm thinking... Duplicate this. Do it again. Okay. Relatively, let's see here. Yeah, that's relatively, I think that's a good size. I think the problem now is just distance, so... Or is it? Okay, so relatively speaking, right? Starts at the top here, and then goes near the waistline, so... Relatively... Yeah, I think the distance just between them could be spread out a little more. Okay. Match this up. It's about as good as I'm gonna get it. Duplicate it. And they can't just be in a straight line, because that's not how dress physics work. Okay. No. You don't want to... Oh, right, I'm on the copy. Not bad. And then for good measure... There. I could go with some fancy detail, but I don't think it matters. Also, I can't fucking see this far away. This is where I'm like, I really wish I had a character sheet. Okay, so... let me just connect them. Yeah, that doesn't look right to me. Okay. Let me see here. Or does it? Going by this. Okay, so let me drag it up a little. Yeah, that looks nice. that looks nice. Of course, I'm gonna have to add some little ins and outs and to get some of the details. Right, but I mean, for line art, that looks fine. I guess I could do some work on the dress top here, because don't fuck around with me. Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of like bead work here. Okay. Duplicating that. There. Attention to detail right there. I don't really think I'll color them. Unless, like, they're a specific color. No, I think there's just... They're like a bit of a frill chain link. Okay. Yeah. I think that's fine. Let's take a step back for a moment, because... Get the references out of the way. Look at that. Oh man. It's coming together. Like, I'm getting closer and closer to getting finished with the line art. It's all coming together so beautifully. Hang on. Let me get this. Where is it? 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 That's not it. Is it? Yes, it is. It is. Okay. I do have to delete some line work and everything, yeah. But for the most part, this is coming along very well. Alright. Oh wow, it is... Oh wow. Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop. I didn't realize I've been drawing for 2 hours. Or quote-unquote drawing, but that's... Yeah, that is a good place to stop. Oh man. Honestly, I'm gonna clean up the rest of the line work and get more details on in my own time, and then when I come back, I will do the coloring, and hopefully that should be the last I do for Henya. Specifically on the body. The background is gonna be another story, but I imagine it's not gonna be all that hard. Because I do have something in mind for the background, and I imagine it'll be pretty... whatever. I'll get to it when I get to it, but right now, I mean, yeah. I think this is coming along very well. So yeah. Thank you all so much for joining me. I have Blue Sky, I have Cara, I have a portfolio on Artstation, I have... Oh, I really can't think of the day. If you want to support me, ko-fi.com/Sozo-sha. And if you want to see some party games and whatnot from me and my friends, twitch.tv/cafeautumn. If you want to tune in more for whenever I do art streams like this, you can just feel free to subscribe if you want. I'm going to get out of here, but I hope you all take care. Peace.